The Charlotte region is adding 157 new residents every single day, but a growing number of them aren't staying. See, they're landing in Winston-Salem, and they're not going back. I've been in real estate for over 22 years, and today I'm gonna break down exactly why housing, traffic, schools, jobs, and the one thing Winston-Salem has that Charlotte can't manufacture. So stick around, because the last one, well, that is the one nobody talks about. Starting with the thing most people think about the second they click on a video like this: money. More specifically, how much of it you actually get to keep. See, the buying power difference between these two cities isn't small. It's the kind of gap that actually changes what your day-to-day life looks like. Charlotte is usually about 10 to 15% more expensive than Winston-Salem across the board. Groceries cost more. Restaurants cost more. Getting around definitely costs more. But the place you really feel the difference is housing. Based on current Redfin and Zillow data, the typical home in Charlotte is selling in the high 300s, low 400s, and that price climbs fast depending on the area. In some of the popular southern suburbs, Ballantyne, Weddington, South Park, Huntersville, you're often looking well into the 5s and 6s, all the way up into just under $1 million. And if you're inside Charlotte itself, neighborhoods like Myers Park, well, those prices move well into the 7-figure territory. On the other hand, Winston-Salem sits in a very different range. The median price range here lands in the mid 2s to the low 3s, depending on which neighborhood. And that's roughly 35 to 50% difference. And when you stretch that across your entire budget, it adds up in a very large way. Putting it in real life terms, to keep the same lifestyle you'd have making, say, $120,000 in Winston-Salem, well, you'd need to at least $140,000, $150,000 in Charlotte. And that's not a small gap. That's real money. And that either stays in your pocket or goes straight into higher living costs. And when we talk about schools later on, you'll see how the price difference shows up there too. Stick with me. So, what does the same money buy you in Winston-Salem? Let's start with Ardmore. This is the city's largest historic neighborhood, and you'll find a lot of classic craftsman bungalows there. Many of those homes fall somewhere in the low 3s, not much higher than the low 4s, and can be all the way down into the 2s. Well, then you've got Pofftown and the northern suburbs, especially areas zoned for Reagan High School. And homes there usually run in the mid 3s. Clemens is another big one people ask about a lot, and it's one of the more sought after western suburbs. Think about 9 o'clock on the clock. And prices there typically land between the mid 3s all the way up to the mid 6s, depending on the neighborhood and the size of the home. Then there's Buena Vista, and if you want the prestige address in Winston-Salem, this is it. Prices here usually start in the 8s and can reach up into the $1.5, even $2 million range. I always tell people this, and I'm not kidding. A $1 million home in Buena Vista would probably be $5 to $8 million in Myers Park or South Park. The buying power difference at every price point is huge. Now, I know someone is already thinking about property taxes. Charlotte actually has a lower tax rate per $100 of assessed value than Winston-Salem. But when you apply a lower rate to a home that costs 40 to 50% more, the number ends up being, frankly, more. In many cases, the annual property tax bill is only a few $100s more, so you're saving, $100,000 or $200,000 on the purchase price, and your yearly tax bill ends up being not terribly different. The math there clearly leans towards Winston-Salem, of course. Affordability alone makes this a pretty interesting comparison. But once you start looking at commute times, the picture gets much, much clearer. Now, if you're watching this and thinking about moving to Winston-Salem, I work with people making the exact transition all the time. All of my contact information is in the description below. If you want to talk through your situation, your needs, your desires, I'm happy, as they pertain to real estate, of course, only, real estate only, I'm happy to help any way I can. Okay, let's keep going. Most Charlotte commuters spend about 1 work week in traffic every year. And that's not really a lifestyle choice. That's just what happens when you live in a major metro area, one of that size especially. When it comes to the number, TomTom's 2025 data shows Charlotte drivers losing somewhere around 49 hours a year sitting in traffic. Winston, that number comes in at 21. I'm gonna be brutally honest with you. I don't know how. I have never really, truly ever in 17 years been stuck in traffic in Winston-Salem. Just being real with you, I'm not sure where that number comes from. However, let's move on. Now, think about what this looks like on the day-to-day. So in Charlotte, a commute that should take 30 minutes can easily stretch past an hour during rush hour. I'm talking about major corridors like I-85 or I-77 and I-485. Even the official average commute time there lands in the 30-minute mark, and that's without heavy delays. But in Winston, it's a totally different story. So the citywide average commute here is 20 minutes. And let me tell you something from personal experience. So I moved here at the end of 2009, and most days I can get anywhere in this city in 12 to tops 15 minutes. I live in one of the most inconvenient neighborhoods in Winston-Salem, and it's 15 minutes from downtown. Now, are there busy spots? Sure. The I-52 and I-40 corridor interchange can get backed up during peak hours, and Haynes Mall Boulevard, well, it can stay pretty busy, especially around the holidays. But that's basically the extent of it. I kid you not. And it's really from 8:38 to 9, but more specifically at that 8:30 mark when schools are back in, so 8 to 8:30, and then again 5 to 5:30, and then gone. And it might slow you down 5 minutes, maybe. The 15-minute commute might be 20 minutes. In Charlotte, traffic doesn't just affect work. It affects everything. School drop-off, after-school activities, meeting friends for dinner on a Friday night. The same traffic math shows up in a different part of your day. And I've said this before, and I'll keep on saying it, because it surprises people every time they move here. The real reason people stay in Winston-Salem is how easy life feels. I promise you, you will get spoiled by how predictable and simple and easy everything is. Now, keep the time savings in mind, because later in this video, we're going to talk about what I call the X factor, and the way Winston-Salem has invested in the identity of the city. And speaking of infrastructure, the Winston-Salem Northern Beltway is a 34.5-mile loop being built around the northern and western sides of the city. So the full completion is expected around 2030, and this is one of the biggest infrastructure projects in North Carolina history. Once it's finished, it's just going to be a life changer for those who live up north, and it already has changed life for those who live up north and commute to Greensboro or High Point. Already a massive game changer. So when you look at it overall, and you've got less than half of your annual traffic hours, shorter door-to-door commute times, and major infrastructure investment already underway, but all the extra time you're saving only matters if you actually love where you live, right? And that's where Winston-Salem neighborhoods tell a very different story than Charlotte's. One thing a lot of people notice pretty quickly when they start looking at Winston-Salem, you don't have to move way out to the edge of the metro just to afford the character and history. Some of the most distinctive neighborhoods in this city cost a lot less than Charlotte's established inner ring. Let me explain why the neighborhood experiences between these two cities feels so different. And it really does come down to scale. Charlotte is a huge, sprawling metro. Uptown has seen a lot of investment in revitalization, but living right in the urban core comes with a price tag that most buyers simply can't sustain for a long time. So what happens? People start expanding outward. And that's where you see those big planned suburbs that really took off in the 90s and early 2000s. Places like Ballantyne and Weddington and Huntersville, and really nice communities, no doubt about it. And to be fair, Charlotte absolutely has things Winston-Salem doesn't. It has professional sports teams. It has the Panthers and the Hornets and the Charlotte FC. The nightlife and dining scene is also, frankly, on a much larger scale because, well, the metro itself is so much bigger. And that's real. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Look, I lived in New York City for 7 years. I get major metros. Here's the thing. What Winston-Salem brings to the table is something you can't just build overnight with money. I'm talking about character, history, and a level of intimacy that a lot of people fall in love with once they experience it. The downtown itself is the heart, and at the heart of the heart is the Innovation Corridor. This is a massive redevelopment of more than 330 acres of former R.J. Reynolds tobacco warehouses. Old brick industrial buildings turned into lofts, research labs, restaurants, and coffee shops. Right in the middle of it, you've got Bailey Park, a big urban green space where the city hosts outdoor movies, food trucks, and concerts throughout the year. This isn't some future vision on a planning map. It's already built, it's active, and it keeps growing. Now the neighborhoods, this is where Winston really shines. Ardmore is the one I probably recommend the most for people coming from larger cities. It's the city's largest neighborhood, filled with early 1900s craftsman homes, tree-lined streets, and a strong neighborhood community. You're also within walking distance of downtown and the two largest hospitals, smack on either side. It's the kind of place where neighbors actually know each other. And then there's Old Salem. I keep bringing this one up because there's truly nothing like it. It is this preserved Moravian settlement that dates back into the 1760s. People live there today, surrounded by those original streets, cobblestone streets, and historic buildings. There's even a working bakery that's been operating since 1800. It's basically a living history museum, except the museum is your neighborhood. West End is another favorite. You'll find large Victorian and colonial revival homes there, all within walking distance of downtown. Feels a little San Francisco-y because it's on a lot of hills. Prices typically fall between anywhere from $500 up into the $800s or more, depending on the property. And when we talk about lifestyle, I'll show you exactly what daily family life actually looks like in these neighborhoods. So stay with me. Now, if you move a little further west, you'll run into Clemens and Louisville. These areas offer more of that suburban feel a lot of buyers want. Bigger homes, great rated schools, and quick access to Tanglewood Park, which covers more than 1,100 acres. It has golf courses, gardens, horseback riding, camping. It's all right there. Something worth pointing out before we move on, the Innovation Corridor isn't only changing downtown, it's also changing the kind of professionals moving here and the reasons they're choosing Winston-Salem, frankly, in the first place. And that brings us to the next part of the conversation. Charlotte gives you scale, bigger metro, bigger entertainment scene, bigger overall footprint, while Winston-Salem has something harder to manufacture, a city where every neighborhood has its own story, and where living in those neighborhoods is still within reach. But none of that is important if the jobs aren't there to support it. So let's talk about the economy. I'm gonna be straight with you here, because that's how I always approach this. Charlotte wins on raw job numbers. It's not close, and there's really no point pretending otherwise. Charlotte is the second largest banking center in the United States, right behind New York City. Bank of America is headquartered there. You've also got huge operations from Truist, Wells Fargo, and Ally Financial. And the metro is one of the fastest growing job markets, adding thousands of jobs every year. So, if you work in financial services, fintech, or corporate tech, Charlotte is a major player. And that's just the honest picture. But the decision people make isn't only about how many jobs exist. It's about what the job actually buys you once you're living there. Winston-Salem's economy has changed big time over the last 20 years. The city used to run on tobacco and textiles. Today, it's healthcare, life sciences, and education driving the main growth. One of the largest employers in Forsyth County is Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center. And roughly 19 to 20,000 people working there currently. It's also the only level 1 trauma center in Northwest North Carolina. And by the way, Winston-Salem still has a strong financial presence too. Truist and Wells Fargo both have major operations here. Should point out they both started in Winston-Salem and felt the pressure to move to Charlotte. And many of their executives still call Winston-Salem home while commuting to Charlotte. Interesting little point there. That's a legacy from Winston-Salem, was actually the financial capital of North Carolina, by the way. Wait until we talk about the innovation quarter and how it's becoming a huge driver of the local economy. We'll dig into that at the end. Now, I joke with clients about this all the time. Charlotte probably wouldn't be the banking giant it is today if Winston-Salem hadn't stepped aside years ago. See, the major infrastructure and financial expansion moved there after Winston-Salem chose a different direction. The decision shaped a lot of what we see today. Right now, the district already generates about $2 billion in economic impact each year. It supports more than 4,000 full-time employees, and it's expanding fast. So yes, Charlotte wins the job volume argument, no question. But if you were working in healthcare or life sciences, education, or professional services, Winston-Salem offers a really strong alternative. And when you combine that with a much lower cost of living and, frankly, quality of life, the value starts to look very different. Now, the question most families ask next is whether the value holds up when it comes to schools and daily life. So, here's the thing. Once people start digging into the schools in Winston-Salem, they notice that the top-rated public schools aren't locked behind the most expensive zip codes in the city. In Charlotte, if you want your kids at one of the hottest performing public schools, places like Drake-Hill or Marvin Ridge or Weddington, you're usually buying in Ballantyne or Union County. And homes in those areas typically run from the fours, really $500,000 mark, all the way well into the 7 figures. The school access comes bundled with the price. It's pretty normal for larger metro areas. But in Winston-Salem, see, it works a little differently. Reagan High School, which is one of the top-rated schools in Forsyth County, sits up in the Pofftown area, and homes there usually fall in the low to mid 3s. You've got Atkins Academic and Technology High School, which is B+ rated school. Then you have Reynolds High School, or Early College of Forsyth, which is an A+ rated and ranks among the public high schools in all of North Carolina. So strong public education here doesn't require buying into the most expensive part of the market. Another layer that matters for families is the student-teacher ratio. Winston-Salem Forsyth County schools average about 15 students per teacher. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools increases some of those ratios, a little bit over 16 or 17 per teacher. Both districts have top-rated schools and others, frankly, that struggle. And that's true in any large system. But the combination of lower home prices and smaller class sizes here can make a real difference to families thinking long-term. Private school options are strong too. Salem Academy has about a 3-to-1 teacher ratio and ranks among the top private schools in the state. Forsyth Country Day School is also A+ rated and has about a 9-to-1 ratio. And there's Summit School, where my kids go, which also comes with a 9 to 10-to-1 ratio. And as for the family life actually feels like day to day, this is where things start to feel very personal. In Charlotte, that commute math we talked about earlier doesn't just apply to work. It applies to everything. School drop-offs, sports practices, and weekend errands, for example. Once again, Winston-Salem is just different. There's almost nowhere your family needs to go that isn't going to be 10, 15 miles away. I'll tell you from personal experience, I'm at the stage of my life with my own kids where I'm driving them everywhere. I can get across town without even thinking about it. So what would I do if this were my home? I'd be at Tanglewood Park all the time. It's more than 1,100 acres with 2 championship golf courses, a pool complex, horseback riding, a BMX track, and the Festival of Lights every fall and winter. I'd take the kids to Salem Lake and walk the 7-mile trail. Pilot Mountain State Park is about a 20-minute drive from my house personally. I know because I've gone there a bunch with my son, as is Hanging Rock, by the way. And the hiking and climbing views out there are incredible. A dash game downtown on a summer night around the corner. Dinner on Trade Street afterwards. I mean, these are easy, fun, and pretty perfect weekdays, weekends. You've also got Ranolda Gardens with 125 acres of beautiful grounds and free admission, may I add, and Caladium North, which many locals still remember as Sciworks, where I spent a lot of hours with my son, has a planetarium along with outdoor science exhibits and walking trails, not to mention downtown, the new Caladium, which is out of this world awesome. And the local library system runs kids programming throughout the year. The pace of life here is steady and relaxed in a way that surprises people. Southern hospitality isn't just a phrase. People greet you. They make eye contact and they wave and they treat you like a neighbor. At first, if you're not from around here, it's a little strange. It grows on you. In fact, it's what I have come to love and know. And if you've lived here for a few months, you're going back to the speed of a major metro, well, it can feel borderline overwhelming. When I visit my friends in New York City, I can't do it anymore. The slower pace of life is not an accident. It comes from something Winston-Salem has been building for over 250 years, and that's what I call the X Factor. So Winston-Salem is known as the City of Arts and Innovation. Residents actually voted on that title in 2014, and it fits because creativity is genuinely part of the DNA here. The city is home to the first local arts council ever created in the United States. It was founded back in 1949, long before most cities were even thinking about the arts investment. See, Winston-Salem was already putting real support behind it. UNCSA, the University of North Carolina School of the Arts, is right here. It's actually why we live here, because my wife went to high school there and a year of college, and her family never left, which is a common thing in North Carolina. This was the first public arts conservatory in the country, and it's been here since the 1960s. Students train at a top-tier level in dance, drama, music, and filmmaking. And the cool part is you can actually experience that talent all year round. There are close to 300 public performances annually, and the ticket prices are usually super low. The Stevens Center downtown is a beautiful historic theater with about 1,400 seats, and it hosts many of those shows and has just been remodeled. Those aren't small side attractions. They're major institutions that help shape the personality of the city. Another place that stands out is the Ranolda House Museum of American Art. It sits inside a 1917 Reynolds mansion on a stunning estate right adjacent to Wake Forest. And it holds one of the strongest American art collections in the Southeast. Right nearby, you've got SECA, the Southeastern Center for Contemporary Art, free admission, beautiful mid-century architecture, and rotating exhibits that bring in artists from all over. And speaking of the arts community, every first Friday of the month, downtown comes alive for something called the Gallery Hop. Galleries stay open late, people fill the streets, music and creativity everywhere. They actually shut down blocks on Trade Street. It's been happening for years, and it still draws a very large crowd. And I've got to talk about Old Salem again for a second, because there's truly nothing else like it. Old Salem is a National Historic Landmark. It's a preserved Moravian settlement dating back to the 1760s. It's not just a museum. People actually live there. Remember when I said I was going to talk about the Innovation Quarter? Well, it sits right in the middle of this story. It's a $2 billion economic engine built inside former tobacco warehouses. The district is running around 90% capacity and continues expanding into life sciences and biomanufacturing, tech, all of it. So you've got this rare combination. Deep cultural history on one side, major economic momentum on the other. Charlotte absolutely has larger venues, pro sports teams, and a nightlife scene that comes with being in a bigger metro. That part, 100% is real. But Winston-Salem offers something that no budget can fast track: an arts culture built over centuries. Moravian roots that give the city an identity and a sense of community that most people notice within their first week of living here. Choosing between Charlotte and Winston-Salem, it's not easy, but once you figure out which trade-offs you're actually willing to live with every single day, you can make the right choice for you. And if you're thinking about making the move and want to see which Winston-Salem neighborhoods might actually match your lifestyle, you can email me at blake@theginthergroup.com today. I've also got a video linked right here that I think you'll really enjoy. It walks you through 15 things about Winston-Salem that people often assume are negatives, but the right buyer might actually turn them into advantages. Stay tuned for more videos, and I hope to see you on the next one.